अनन्तरूपा अनन्तनामा आदिमूला नारायण अनन्तरूपा अनन्तनामा आदिमूला नारायण अनन्तशयना हे जगन्नाथ कमलनयना हे माधव अनन्तशयना हे जगन्नाथ कमलनयना हे माधव करुणासागर कालिङ्गनर्तन करुणासागर कालिङ्गनर्तन हे कृपा सिन्धो कृष्ण हे कृपा सिन्धो अनन्तरूप अनन्तनाम आदिमूला नारायण विश्वरूपा विश्वाधार विश्वव्यापक नारायण विश्वरूपा विश्वाधार विश्वव्यापक नारायण विश्वतैजस प्राज्ञस्वरूप हे दया सिन्धो कृष्ण हे दया सिन्धो अनन्तरूप अनन्तनाम आदिमूला नारायण अनन्तशयना हे जगन्नाथ कमलनयना हे माधव करुणासागर कालिङ्गनर्तन हे कृपा सिन्धो कृष्ण हे कृपा सिन्धो अनन्तरूप अनन्तनाम आदिमूला नारायण अनन्तरूप अनन्तनाम आदिमूला नारायण
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च Humble prostrations to one and all. So in the last class, we have seen the first verse of the third valli, Ritam pibantau sukritasya loke guham pravishtav parame pararthe. So in this verse, it is said, Jivatma and Paramatma, they reside in this body, in the heart cave. Paramatma is the Sakshi of whatever is happening there. And Jivatma is a Karta Bhukta, the doer, enjoyer. He is the performer of action. He is the enjoyer of the results of those actions, karma phalas. Both of them are seated in the core of the heart, which is the very abode of the Supreme Lord. And what is their relationship? So this verse says, Chaya tapau. Jivatma and Paramatma, they are like Chaya and Atapa. Chaya means shade, Atapa means light. So in the last class we had discussed, really speaking, it is only the light which is present. Absence of light is called darkness. Darkness or shadow or shade, it doesn't have an independent existence. Absence of light is what we call as shade. So what does it mean? It means that actually speaking, there is nothing called Jivatma. It is only Paramatma which is present. When we are ignorant about this knowledge, then what we experience is Jivatma. So what is present is only Paramatma. But in the darkness of ignorance, what we find is Jivatma. So what must be the purpose of life? We all consider ourselves as Jīvātmās. Being a Jīvātmā is nothing but misery. So the purpose of life is only one. We should know ourselves as we are. We should know ourselves not as Jīvātmā, not as this individual soul, not as this ego, but we should know ourselves as Paramatma. This is the very goal of the entire Vedas. So we have this Mahavakyas, Aham Brahma Asmi, etc. So the ultimate goal of the Vedas, the ultimate goal of life is only one, to recognize ourselves, our own perfect self, our own supreme self, which is Paramatma. This is the purpose of life. So the journey of life is nothing but journey from ignorance to knowledge, journey from darkness to light, journey from misery to bliss. So this is the journey which the Jivatma has to take. So what is the destination? Paramatma is the destination. Who is the traveler? Jivatma is the traveler. So this much we have seen. Now Yamarāja sincerely prays to the Lord to bless all of us with this knowledge. That is the next verse, verse number 2, page number 150. So we will chant that verse. Yasseturi jananam aksharam brahma yat param abhayam titirshatam param Nāchiketam shakeemahi. Yasseturi jananam aksharam brahma yat param abhayam titirshatam param Nāchiketam shakeemahi. Shakeemahi, may we know, may we master. What are the things we must know, we must master? Yamarāja says, Nāchiketam, that Nāchiketa-vidyā, which we had seen earlier. So may we know that Nāchiketa-vidyā, may we master that Nāchiketa-vidyā. And what is this Nāchiketa-vidyā? Yaha ījānānām setuhu. Setuhu means bridge. Ījānānām, for the performers of this ritual. For the performers of this ritual, this Nāchiketa-vidyā acts as a bridge. Bridge for what? So Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Dukkha santaranarthatvat. To cross over the sorrow, this Nāchiketa-vidyā acts as a bridge. Okay. So this is one thing we must know. What is the other thing? Aksharam Brahma. O Lord, may we know, may we master not only Nāchiketa-vidyā, but Brahma-vidyā also. So what is that Brahman? Aksharam Brahma, that imperishable Brahman. Yat param abhayam, which is the state of absolute fearlessness. Param abhayam. May we know that imperishable Brahman, which is the state of absolute fearlessness, and which is Titirshatam Param, which is Param, the other shore. For whom? Titirshatam, for those who want to cross over the ocean of samsara. Titirshatam, those who want to cross over. So those who want to cross over, those who desire to cross over the ocean of samsara, the ocean of worldliness, those who want to reach the other shore. So this Brahman is the other shore. So those who want to reach the other shore by crossing the ocean of worldliness, and that Brahman which is the state of absolute fearlessness. So may we know that Brahman. So what is the prayer? The prayer is, O Lord, may we know Nāchiketa-vidyā and may we know Brahma-vidyā. So this is the meaning. Now why these two knowledges are mentioned here? So we have to understand here, Nāchiketa-vidyā is for the beginners of spirituality. Brahma-vidyā is for the advanced seekers of spirituality. This is the point. So for those people in whom the sense of doership is very strong, the sense of enjoyership is very strong, the sense of individuality is very strong, the egoistic notion is very strong. People, those who have not yet purified their minds, there is no chitta shuddhi or chitta ekagrata, purity of mind and concentration of mind. They have not yet developed it. They are just beginners. And they still have a lot of desires of the world. So for them, Nāchiketa-vidyā is prescribed, which is for the beginners. So in Nāchiketa-vidyā, what do? We surrender unto the Lord, we worship the Lord, and we sincerely pray to fulfill all our desires. So then what happens? By the grace of the Lord, our desires are fulfilled. And when our desires are fulfilled, we become free from our sorrows. So it acts as a bridge to help us cross over these sorrows. That is how Nāchiketa-vidyā helps us. So in Nāchiketa-vidyā, remaining as a jīvātmā, you cross over your sorrows. This is the point. It is not through knowledge that you cross over the sorrows, but it is by worshipping the Lord and fulfilling the desires, you cross over the sorrows. So who is the adhikari here? They are Artha Bhaktas and Artharthi Bhaktas. They have so many desires. These desires they fulfill through the Lord. The worries, sufferings, etc., they overcome through the grace of the Lord, and for that they do the worship. They do this, Agni-vidyā, or the ritual, and thus propitiate the Lord. This is what they do. So this is Nāchiketa-vidyā. So in this world, they are free from sorrow, and in the next world, anyway, they go to Svarga. So again, they are free from sorrow. So therefore, Nāchiketa-vidyā is the right means for the beginners to put an end to all sorrows. So here Yamarāja says, may we master this branch of knowledge. But for those who are advanced seekers, those who are highly evolved, those who have understood the hollowness of the worldly existence, those who have developed the Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Ekagrata, such highly qualified people who have known this great truth that as Jīvātmā I can never be happy, those who are fit to disidentify from their body-mind, such capable, advanced seekers, for them Brahma-vidyā is prescribed. Brahma-vidyā. So what is Brahma-vidyā? Param abhayam, which is the state of absolute fearlessness. As long as a person remains in jīva-bhāva, as an individual in the body, there is no possibility of absolute fearlessness. This advanced seeker knows. So therefore, he wants to put an end to all kinds of sorrows permanently. He knows that limited action cannot give unlimited results. So therefore, he is a person who has understood that rituals like Nāchiketa-vidyā can never give permanent results. It can give only limited results. It can give us Svarga, but again, after Svarga Bhoga, we have to come back. So the result is limited. He is not happy with that. So for such people, for such advanced seekers who have all the sadhana, chatushta, sampatti, etc., or the fold qualifications, who are rich in vairagya, dispassion, viveka, discrimination, who have strong mumukshutvam, the desire for liberation, for them Brahma-vidyā is prescribed. So this verse says, O Lord, we are all seekers of the truth. So please bless us with Nāchiketa-vidyā and Brahma-vidyā. In this way, may we put an end to all our sorrows. May we thus evolve spiritually and finally reach you. This is the prayer. So with this prayer, now the teaching starts. So what is the teaching? The teaching is all about how we, the Jivatma, can reach Paramatma. So now begins the chariot metaphor. So let us chant verse number 3 and verse number 4 together. Page number 152 and 153. Atmanam rathinam vidhi shariram rathamevatu buddhim tu sarathim vidhi manaf pragrahamevacha. Atmanam rathinam vidhi shariram rathamevatu buddhim tu sarathim vidhi manaf pragrahamevacha. Indriyani hayanahuhu vishayansteshu gocharan atmendriyamano yuktam bhoktetyahurmanishinaha. Indriyani hayanahuhu vishayansteshu gocharan atmendriyamano yuktam bhoktetyahurmanishinah. Yes. So here comes a description of the chariot. So what is said here? Atmanam rathinam vidhi. Vidhi, may you know. What should we know? Atmanam rathinam. Know that this Atma is Rathi. Now here Atma means what? So according to the context, the meaning of Atma will change. So here Atma means jīvātmā. So know this jīvātmā, this individual soul, this ego, this individual self, know him to be the Rathi. Rathi means the owner of the chariot. Ratha Swami, the owner of the chariot, the lord of the chariot. Atmanam rathinam vidhi. Shariram rathamevatu. What is this chariot? This chariot is like the body. So the traveler inside the chariot, the owner of the chariot, he is the jīvātmā. And the chariot is the physical body. Shariram rathamevatu. Okay. Buddhim tu sarathim vidhi. Now in every chariot there has to be a charioteer who drives that chariot. So who is that charioteer? Sarathi. Sarathi is none other than buddhi, intellect. Buddhi. Now the charioteer has to hold the reins of the horses. So what are those reins? Manaha pragrahamevacha. So pragraham means reins. So these reins, they are nothing but the mind, manaha. So the owner of the chariot is the jīvātmā. The chariot is the physical body. The charioteer is the intellect. And the reins of the horses, they are the mind. What about the horses? Indriyani hayan ahuhu. Hayan means horses. The sense organs are the horses. The 10 sense organs. The organs of knowledge, jnanendriyas, and organs of action, karmendriyas. They are the horses. So totally there are 10 horses. These horses, they are the sense organs. Indriyani hayanahuhu. Then Vishayans teshu gocharan. Now if the horse has to run, if the chariot has to move, then there has to be a road. What is that road? The path. So it is said Vishayan. The sense objects are those paths. Vishayans teshu gocharan. So please remember these things. The owner of the chariot is the jīvātmā. The chariot is the physical body. The charioteer, Sarathi, is the intellect. The reins, they are the mind. The horses are the sense organs. And the path, they are the sense objects. And then what he said? Atmendriya manoyuktam bhokta iti manishinaha ahu. Manishinaha, the wise people say. Manishinaha ahu. What do they say? That this person who is traveling in the chariot, he is the bhokta. Bhokta means enjoyer. So what is his condition? Yuktam, united with Atmendriya manoyuktam. Atma here means body. Now see the difference. Earlier Atmanam rathinam vidhi, there Atma means jīvātmā. Atmendriya manoyuktam, here Atma means physical body. So Atma, physical body, Indriya, senses, Mano, mind, yuktam. So united with the body, the senses and the mind, this honor is called bhokta. So this is the literal meaning of this verse. Now let us get into the details. So what is first mentioned? Atmanam rathinam vidhi. Know this honor of the chariot to be the jīvātmā. This is the first line. So who is the traveler? This jīvātmā is the traveler. What is the destination? Paramatma is the destination. So the charioteer, the horses, the chariot, they are all functioning for taking this jīvātmā, taking this honor of the chariot to the goal. So he is the Swami, he is the Lord, he is the Rathi. Now please understand the difference between Rathi and Sarathi. Rathi means the honor of the chariot, Sarathi means the charioteer who is driving the chariot. So Sarathi is the servant of Rathi. He is serving the Rathi to reach Rathi, his destination. Right. So the whole chariot is moving in order to take the Rathi, the honor, to his destination. Right. Atmanam rathinam vidhi. What about the next one? Shariram rathamevatu. So this physical body is called Ratham, chariot. So just like we find ourselves inside this body, we all find ourselves inside this body, just like the owner of the chariot finds himself inside the chariot, isn't it? When the traveling is happening, where is the owner? Owner is inside the chariot. In the same way, when we are traveling in this samsara journey, where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves in this body. Bhagavan Shankaracharya gives another reason. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, this physical body is called the chariot because just like horses pull the chariot, in the same way the sense organs pull this body. So the body is pulled by the sense organs, just like the horses pull the chariot. So shariram rathamevatu, this physical body is the chariot. Now see, whenever we want to go somewhere, what kind of vehicle do we choose? We choose the vehicle depending upon the destination, depending upon the route, the path, isn't it? For example, suppose we have to travel through water, then we will have to choose a boat or a ship. That boat or a ship will not be useful if you have to travel on the land. Again, in the land, depending upon the destination, we choose the vehicle. If the destination is very close, we just go by walk. Little far, we may use a cycle or a bullock cart or an auto rickshaw. If it is little more far, maybe we may use bus or train. If it is very far, then we may use aeroplane. But suppose if the destination is some other planet or what we call the International Space Station, etc., then we will have to use a space vehicle, isn't it? So just like we change vehicle, we use vehicle depending upon the destination, depending upon the distance and the route, we use the right vehicle. In the same way, here we are supposed to reach the destination of Paramatma. So which is the right vehicle to reach there? So all the scriptures unanimously say, all the saints unanimously say that the right vehicle for this journey is human body. So shariram rathamevatu. So which shariram? Here we have to understand shariram is manushya shariram. So this is the journey. So this is the chariot we are seated in. So we are all blessed to have this human body because this body is the right means, right vehicle to take us to Paramatma. Right. Next one, buddhim tu sarathim vidhi. So for every chariot there has to be a charioteer. Now this charioteer has a very important role to play that we will see in the next verse. If there is one entity which is the most important in this entire chariot example, it is the Sarathi, the charioteer. If the chariot reaches safely and swiftly to the destination, all the credit should go to the charioteer. And if the chariot doesn't reach, again all the blame will go to the charioteer. So he is the one who is entirely responsible for the welfare and well-being of the chariot and for its reaching the destination safely. Now, whom can be called an efficient charioteer? Efficient charioteer is the one who has the right knowledge. So what is the knowledge which he must possess? He must have the knowledge about the chariot, and also he must have the knowledge about the route, the destination. He must have the knowledge about the horses. He must have the knowledge about the chariot. He must have the knowledge about how to drive these horses efficiently, fast, swiftly. If he doesn't know how to drive these horses, the chariot will not move. So therefore, he must have the right knowledge about the chariot, about horses, about the route. Now this is also important, route. There are short routes, there are long routes. There are good ways, there are bad ways. Good roads, bad roads. Isn't it? Humpy, bumpy roads. So now this charioteer must have the right knowledge about the roads also. Which is the road which will efficiently take me, swiftly take me, safely take me to the destination. This knowledge charioteer must have. So basically, charioteer must be an embodiment of knowledge. Greater the knowledge, the better the travel, the more efficient the travel. So in the same way, charioteer is compared with intellect. So what is the strength of the intellect? The strength of the intellect is knowledge. Just like the strength of a Sarathi is knowledge, the strength of the intellect is compared with charioteer, the strength of the intellect is knowledge. So what is the knowledge which the intellect must have? The intellect must have the knowledge about the body, the mind, the senses. Intellect must have the knowledge about the destination and what are the practices to be done to reach the destination, what are the sadhanas to be done, what are the obstacles en route. So an intellect must be an embodiment of knowledge. So what is an efficient intellect? That intellect which is filled with, which is a treasure house of knowledge, we can say that intellect is an efficient intellect. Now what are the sources from which intellect will gain knowledge? That is also important. There are so many sources. So intellect may gain knowledge from the scriptures. Intellect may gain knowledge from others' experiences. Intellect may gain knowledge from one's own past experiences. There are so many ways, from books, from libraries, etc., etc., etc. So the job of the intellect is gain knowledge as much as possible, because the knowledge is the real strength in this journey. Right. The greater the knowledge, the greater the clarity, the greater the conviction. And this is the real strength of the intellect. Knowledge is the real strength of the intellect, and it is with this strength of knowledge, intellect is able to take decisions. Once the information has been gathered from different sources, now intellect has to decide which path to take. It has to reflect, it has to contemplate, it has to weigh the pros and cons, analyze the advantages and disadvantages, find out what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. A lot of reflection has to happen, analysis has to happen, and all these things are done by the intellect alone. And only with right knowledge these analysis can be done. And once analysis is done, finally intellect comes to a conclusion, it comes to a decision. So who is this intellect? Intellect is the decision making entity. Just like the charioteer is the decision making entity in the movement of the chariot. It is the charioteer who will decide which path to take, how to reach the destination. In the same way, the decision making entity in us is the intellect. How does it make decisions? By analysis, by contemplation, by comparison, etc. And once the decision is taken, the intellect commands the mind and the senses to implement this decision. So decision is taken by the intellect, and once the decision is taken, intellect wants the mind and the senses to implicitly obey the decision, to implement the decision. So this is the role of the intellect, right? So intellect has a very, very important role. It is the one entity which determines whether the journey becomes successful or not. That in detail anyway Bhagavan is going to tell in the next verse. So at that time we will discuss the importance of intellect, right? Now the next one is Manaha Pragraham Evacha. Mind is compared with reins. Now before this mind, let us take the other two, Indriyas and the Vishya. We will take this mind later. Indriyani Hayan Ahuhu. Horses. Who are these horses? They are the Indriyas, the sense organs. So what are the Indriyas we have? We have Pancha Jnanendriyas and Pancha Karmendriyas. 5 organs of knowledge and 5 organs of action. So what are they? 5 organs of knowledge. So we can call them as input devices in the computer terminology. We gain knowledge from the world through Jnanendriyas. So what are the knowledge we gain? Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So Shabda is the Vishaya, is a sense object. Shabda means sound. We hear sound through our ears. So ear is a sense organ, Shabda. Then it is Sparsha, touch. Through skin we gain the knowledge of touch. So skin is the second sense organ. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa. Rupa is form. So form and color. This information of the world we gain through our eyes. So eyes, they are the third sense organs, Jnanendriya. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa. Rasa means taste. So we gain the knowledge of taste through our tongue. So tongue is the 4th organ of knowledge. Rasa, and then Gandha, smell. So we gain the knowledge of smell through our nose. So nose is the 5th organ of knowledge. So eyes, ears, skin, nose, tongue, they are the 5 organs of knowledge, Pancha Jnanendriyas. Then we have Pancha Karmendriyas, the 5 organs of action. What are they? Hands, legs, tongue, genital organ and anus. Hands, it is to hold things. So it's a Karmendriya, organ of action. Legs, it is to carry the body here and there. That is the second organ of action. Then tongue, to speak. Now see, tongue is both an organ of knowledge and also an organ of action. So, to get the knowledge of taste, tongue is used, and to speak out, again tongue is used. So, it is a karmendriya and also it is a jnanendriya. Tongue. Then comes anus. It is for excretion, to throw the waste matter out of the body. That is the function of anus. And then genital organ. It is used for throwing away the liquid fluid, urination, and also for procreation. So, these are the fields in which these organs of action function. So, 5 organs of knowledge, 5 organs of action. So, therefore, how many horses are there? There are 10 horses. Indriyani hayanahu. You may also call it that there are 9 horses, because tongue comes in both. Anyway, let us take it as 10 horses only. Right, so there are 10 horses. Vishayans teshu gocharan. Now these horses have to run through a path. There has to be a path for the horses to run. In the same way, sense organs must have a field to function. So, the field of functioning is called a sense object. They are called as Vishaya. So, just as we have seen, what is the field in which the ears function? It is the field of sound. In the same way, eyes function in the field of color and form. So, in the same way, every organ must have a field of functioning. This field of functioning is called Vishaya, or sense object. This is the road over which this chariot travels. Okay, now let us come to this mind. Manaha pragraham evacha. Mind is the reins. Now see, reins are connected to the horses, and as we have said, there are 10 horses. Now the reins are the mind. Now we may think mind is only one, but the reins are 10 in number. How is it possible? See, it is something like this. Mind is a unique equipment, faculty, which can function in all the 10 fields. This is a unique feature about the mind. One mind can function in all the 10 fields. How can we say that? Suppose you see a picture. There is a picture and you keep on looking at it. Then close your eyes. What do you see? You see that picture's image in the mind, isn't it? So what does it mean? The mind can think of color and form. In the same way, mind can think of sound, mind can think of smell, mind can perceive feelings, touch, everything. So, mind is a unique faculty which can function in all the fields. It can imagine anything. So, it is not necessary that the sense object has to be present. By its own imaginative power, it can create things in the mind. This is a unique feature about the mind. So, therefore, we don't have to have too many minds. We need to have only one mind with 10 different perceptions. That is enough. So, one mind can handle all the horses, all the senses. Right, this is one aspect. Now, the second point which we have to keep in mind is, now see, if you see the reins, one end is connected to the horses and the other end is held by the charioteer. There is a condition of the reins, isn't it? One end is tied to the horses, the other end is held by the charioteer. Now here an important thing we have to keep in mind is, Suppose there is no charioteer, then what will be the state of the reins? So we find that if horses are running and if there is no charioteer or if the charioteer is inefficient, we find that these reins just follow the horses, isn't it? Wherever the horses go, the reins also go. But suppose if the charioteer is efficient, then what will happen? The reins will not follow the horses will follow the reins. Because now the reins are following the charioteer. So in the absence of a charioteer, reins would follow the horses, and in the presence of an efficient charioteer, the reins would follow the charioteer. This is an interesting thing about reins. So if this is understood, the same thing happens in us also. Reins means mind. So if the intellect is weak, the charioteer, the intellect is weak. When does the intellect becomes weak? When there is no proper knowledge, then intellect is weak. Ignorance is the weakness of the intellect. Knowledge is the strength of the intellect. So if the intellect is weak without any knowledge, then what will happen to the reins? The reins will follow the sense organs. Now what is the nature of the sense organ? Now this also we have to know. Sense organs are designed to indulge in sense objects. They are designed that way. The one thing which the sense organs love the most is to indulge in sense objects. They are designed that way. We can't change it. Just like North Pole and South Pole, they are designed to attract each other. It is a law of the universe. In the same way, sense organs are designed to indulge in the sense objects. That's why Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, Indriyasya indriyasyarthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau. For the sense organs, there is likes and dislikes towards sense objects. It is by default, it is by nature. That is the nature of the sense organs. So now, senses means sense organs. So sense organs are by default attracted towards sense objects. Sense organs are attracted towards sense objects. Without the intellect, what will be the nature of the mind? The mind, which is the reins, will be naturally attracted to the sense organs. Now this is the point we have to understand. So left to itself, mind loves sense indulgence. This is the point. Left to itself, the mind favors the sense organs to indulge in sense pleasures. But if this mind is controlled by an intelligent intellect, an efficient intellect, a strong intellect, an enlightened intellect, remember, strength means knowledge, a knowledgeable intellect, then what will happen to this mind? Then the mind, instead of obeying the sense organs, will obey this strong intellect. This we have to understand. Mind will start following the intellect. Now, to understand this intellect-mind-senses relationship, a very simple example, a day-to-day example can be given. In our own family, we find this. So, the example can be given of the orthodox Indian family. Because in modern times it is true or not, I don't know. But in ancient times, this used to be the way. So intellect is roughly, we can compare it to the what you call, the honor of the house, the father of the children. Mind can be compared to mother of the children. And the children and the what you call, the sense organs can be compared with children. So sense organs, children. Mind, mother, and intellect, father. So in ancient orthodox Indian family system, the decision making authority is the father, just like the intellect. Now you will always find that mother is always partial to children. Father and children, they are connected by mother, just like charioteer and horses are connected by reins. Mother is the connecting link between father and children. They directly don't interact. Please keep this in mind. I am talking of ancient orthodox system, Indian system. In modern times, yes, a lot of changes have come. But in those times, mother used to take care of the household, father used to go and earn. This used to be the case in the olden days. So father used to be the decision maker in everything. And the children are little scared to go near father. He was a strict father, an embodiment of discipline, strictness. He speaks very less, doesn't much interact with children. It is a mother who keeps on interacting with children. So mother appears as a link between father and children. So if at all the child has some desire, he wants something from father, he does not have the courage to go to father. Where will he go? He will go to mother. Because his relationship with mother is very close. So the child will approach mother. The child will cry and weep and insist and be stubborn in front of mother, because he knows that little bit of crying and weeping and mother will yield to my pressure and she will give me whatever I want. This child knows. Child knows that mother's weakness is this child. Every mother's weakness is her own child. So when the mother sees this child crying and weeping and insisting, just to make the child happy, she gives whatever the child wants. Though she may not want to give it, but just to make the child happy, many times, very many times, mother yields to the demand of the child. Now the child wants something and the child is crying. So what will the mother do? Because the decision making entity is father. She cannot get it. She will have to convince that father. Child will not go directly to father. So then the child will pressurize mother. Now mother goes to father. Now, if the lady of this house is mother, if she has conquered her husband, the father of the child, if she has conquered, and this is normally the case, through her service, through her love, because she is the one who does everything in the house. Cooking happens because of her, washing happens because of her, she is the one who keeps everything clean, neat, tidy. The home is a home only because of this lady. She is the one who is taking care of the children. So all responsibilities, she is the one who does. And because she does all these things, naturally she has conquered her husband through her love, through her service. So then, when she asks something from her husband, she says, the child wants this, why don't you get him this? After all, it is a small thing. If it can give happiness, why don't you get it? So she keeps on nagging. And she has that power. She can be very persistent. she can be very nagging again and again, reminding him, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? Now this husband also, he dare not make her unhappy, because everything in the household is happening because of her. If he says no to her, there is all the possibility that she may become unhappy, and then for some days she may even carry a solemn face, showing her disappointment. So the whole thing in the household can come to a standstill if she becomes unhappy. So therefore this husband, the father of the child, generally yields to the demands of his wife. Generally. Now there are exceptional cases also. We are just taking a general condition. So the child gets things done through his mother. And because she has conquered her husband, so whatever she asks, she gets it from her husband. Now if this simile is understood, the same thing happens here also. Senses, they are addicted to the sense objects. Mind generally favors the sense organs, because when sense organs indulge in sense objects, there is happiness. Mind wants happiness. It is a cheap happiness, it is an effortless happiness, quick happiness. So mind naturally favors the sense organs in indulgence. If the intellect is not strong enough, that intellect will agree to the demand of the mind. And the demand of the mind is nothing but the demand of the senses. So this relationship we have to understand. If the intellect is very strong, then the intellect will dictate terms and the mind and senses will obey. But if the intellect is weak, then the senses compel the mind and the mind compels the intellect, and the intellect will have to give way to the mind and the senses. This relationship we normally find when we analyze our own intellect, mind and the senses. So this point we have to keep in mind. So now to understand the whole thing, let us take an example. So the body is the chariot, the owner of the body is the jīvātmā, the charioteer is the intellect, the mind is the reins, and the horses are the sense organs, and the path is the sense objects. So a simple example we will take. Suppose there is a person who is just watching the television and suddenly one advertisement comes, an advertisement regarding a mobile phone. So that advertisement is only for say 30 seconds, even less than that. So what happens? So when that person is seeing through his eyes, so what happens? The horses in the form of eyes, they go, take the path of color and form. So this information comes to the mind because the horses has gone. Again, the ears, they hear the sound, so that information has gone. Now see how the horses are running through the roads. So this information has come into the mind of that person. Now the mind says, yeah, this is a wonderful thing, this is a brand which I love the most, I want it, I like it, mind says. Now the mind cannot take decision making entity is intellect, so the mind presents this particular mobile phone which has been newly released in the market. This the mind presents in front of the intellect for sanction, saying that this is a wonderful mobile, I like it, let us purchase it. The mind persuades the mind to take decision, persuades the intellect to take decision. Now what does the intellect say? There are two ways. Intellect may say, no, just now only I have purchased one mobile, I don't have money, so it is out of question. Then what happens? Nothing happens, the matter is over there. But Suppose the intellect says, it's nice. So once the mind is able to create, when the mind is filled with likes, the mind says, I love this. So you will find that the intellect becomes helplessly bent to take a decision in favor of the mind. Intellect becomes helpless. So then the intellect says, this mobile is a wonderful mobile. It has so many features, and yes, it can help me in our profession also. And after all, they are giving in some, easily payable loans, such schemes they are giving. And exchange policies also there. So I can exchange my old with this new one. So yes, this mobile I can purchase. Now this is how the mind influences the intellect. When the mind likes it, it forces the intellect to take decision by influencing the analysis of the intellect. And then what happens when the intellect says, yes, we must purchase this? Then what happens? Then the mind and the senses, they take this person to that mobile store and makes him purchase it. See how the chariot has gone towards the destination to get the desires fulfilled. This is how we all function sitting in this chariot of body. More analysis we will do in the next class. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.